USC's championship hopes go up in smoke in Eugene. Georgia Tech's, they go away as well. The SEC, well, it was cupcake weekend for them. Well, all except for Oklahoma and Missouri, as they squared off in a defensive war. And Michigan and Ohio State just keep on rolling along. I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is the Dylan Hildreth Show. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any football or racing. Let's dive into this, shall we? So, early on in this game, it was kind of like one of those like culture shock kind of things, like, oh yeah, or Oregon's got this. They're gonna win this game. It's just a matter of by how much. Now, there were a couple things here that I did want to highlight because you had later in this game where it was a very crucial point, and it didn't make sense as to why you do this. And that was in the fourth quarter. Drive down the field, you score the touchdown, and instead of kicking the field goal to make it 35-28, you decide to go for two, and it does not go well. Um, this was, this was a Lincoln Riley just absolute blunder. There was no reason to go for two. You had nothing to gain by going for two, everything to lose, and you just decided to go for two because I can't explain it. I don't know what was going on here with Lincoln Riley. And this, it was talked about that that culture of football, and yeah, USC has that brand of toughness, but that dissipates when you go on the road. At least for USC, which is the exact opposite of what it's actually supposed to be. Because you're supposed to be able to run the ball a lot better on the road. Because, it's the noise isn't as much of a factor when everybody knows where they're running, what they're doing. Whereas in a pass play, it has a tendency to go off script. And this game, Oregon just bowed up and let USC have it. They got popped in the mouth over and over again, and by the time we got towards the end of the game, USC just couldn't handle it. You had the pick early on from USC. Then you had an exchange of picks. But let's take a look at the rushing. 52 yards rushing. Yeah. USC couldn't move the ball on the ground. And at Eugene, you got to be able to move the ball on the ground. 1.9 yards a carry. And by God, they tried. They tried. 28 rushes. Penalty yards were fairly even. Oregon won the turnover battle 2-1. And that first half, Oregon came out, led 28-14, and then they knew all they had to do was just go tit for tat. Now, Oregon, they got the big rivalry game next weekend against Washington. I believe that is in Seattle. That game's going to be very, very good. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. That game, yeah, that game is in Seattle. That is Saturday. I believe that's going to be Saturday night. I'm assuming it's going to be the night game. It's going to be the game on NBC. But we'll talk about that one sometime this week. Oh, there's going to be a lot of games to talk about this week. It is not going to be like this channel is not going to be like it was last week because I got to be a little bit lazy because most of the SEC decided to take a week off because we're the toughest conference in the world, even though we haven't won anything over the last 3 years. So irritating, so unbelievably irritating. But nonetheless, back to the task at hand. USC, I mean, hopes and dreams have gone up, and it was fairly predictable. I don't think anybody with a functional brain had USC actually winning this game. I thought this game would be closer than what it turned out to be, but I'm not shocked by the result. And yeah, it happened. It happens. And then we move on to the one SEC game that many would say it was would be considered to watch. And that was Missouri and Oklahoma in Soonerland, Norman, Oklahoma. Mateer getting back to his ways, not quite getting the completion percentage he was, but, a little bit tougher competition than, Charlotte or Sanford or Eastern Illinois. Not pointing any fingers directly at anybody, but, it is what it is. So I'm going to applaud Oklahoma and Missouri for not taking the week off and completely ruining the momentum of college football. And yeah, I'm going to die on that hill. I don't care. But anyway, back to the task at hand. uh this Oklahoma defense is so opportunistic and so freaking good. I mean, like if the Oklahoma offense can get some bearing back and find that running game that you had a little bit of a spurt of over the last number of weeks, it certainly wasn't there today. Or yesterday, I should say. Only 3.2 yards a rush, which isn't bad. Still got over 100 yards. I think 60 of that came from Mateer. Yes, it did. And they were able to shut down Hardy. Ahmad Hardy and Bo Pribula. He threw a couple of picks. And yeah, I mean, they won this game very similar to how they won Alabama. Get the interceptions, and you turn those into points. Well, they didn't turn that one into. And they were able to end it on a pick. So they didn't necessarily turn the turnover picks into turnovers, or picks into points, but defense still held strong nonetheless. And I tell you what, this defense, it's good enough to carry this team into a couple of wins into the postseason. Oklahoma may very well beat somebody they shouldn't come playoff time. And who knows? Maybe Maybe Oklahoma gets a favorable matchup here in round one. Maybe they even get the home game, the almighty home game, which I think they're in line for anyway. Certain on that though. Well, they're eighth, so it'd be 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So they'd get a home game. So we'll see how it all shakes out. So good for Oklahoma. Good win on that. They got LSU next weekend, and by God, are they a mess? LSU's an absolute mess. But we'll be talking about them in the very near future. Potentially after the Egg Bowl. We'll see. I got a short that I did on that. Go check it out on the channel. But anyway, let's and then let's dive into the other team that had their hopes and dreams dashed. Yeah. This game, I only needed to watch the first. After the first series, I was like, oh, Pitt's gonna win this game. And then after the second series, I was like, oh, Pitt is really gonna win this game. And then I shut it off and went to go do something else. Well, to get ready to watch the F1 race. So, yeah. Haynes King, 2 picks. They were able to run the ball, but Pitt was able to be efficient and run the ball. Won the turnover battle. Looks like 2-0. They did. Had outgained Georgia Tech. Really outrushed them. 4.7 yards a carry to Georgia Tech's 3.7. Fairly even on the penalties. And, I mean, where did all these picks come from? Yep, there you go. You had the touchdown, you had the pick turned into a touchdown, and then you had the pick six. Usually what that means. Yep, pick six. Coast to coast. So, yeah. So 14 points off turnovers. You had, like, Georgia Tech just looked completely outmatched in the little bit that I watched. I mean, it just completely and totally outmatched. So, congrats to Pitt. I think they are now in the catbird seat for the for an ACC championship shot. They are. Who's Pitt got? Miami. So they gotta go in. They gotta beat Miami. They gotta play Miami at Hard Rock. And so, wonder how that's gonna work. So, SMU needs a loss. I'm just going off what they have here. And I'm assuming SMU needs a Pitt or Virginia loss. Which, Pitt loss looks be decently likely. Virginia has Virginia Tech, so I'm gonna say put all your eggs in that Pitt Pitt basket. And SMU has Cal at Cal, which isn't quite necessarily across the country for SMU, but Cal is decently dangerous at home. Berkeley's an odd place, a very underrated place in college football terms, in college football, I should say. So the ACC just got a whole, well, I don't want to say a whole lot more interesting, but I will say if Pitt is able to get to the ACC title game, which if Miami goes in and just absolutely tattoos Pitt, then Miami will be absolutely undeniable for a playoff spot. Um, the magic number that I think Miami would have to do is do better than 37-15. You blow out Pitt more than Notre Dame did, then Miami will be undeniable. Okay, so I was wrong. It's not at Pitt. It's not in Miami. It's at Pitt. So if again, Miami's got to go in and tattoo Pitt, and Pitt's got to just win. And that's actually gonna. You know what? Screw it. I'm already covering like 17 games this weekend, so might as well just do that one later. So we covering that game later this week, and then we got what was a very exciting game. I was able to catch the back half of. That was Kansas State, Utah. Devin Dampier, my God, is he good? I think he's a sophomore, junior, so he'll be back next year, unless something crazy happens and goes off in the portal, which I hope he doesn't, because he is so exciting to watch in Kyle Whittingham's system. Dampier, I mean, what can I say? He was a stud. Now Joe Jackson on Kansas State side broke a ton of records today or yesterday. 293 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, this was a full out war. A full out war. You have over 1,000. You have 1,100 yards between them. 574 for K State, 551 for Utah. 472 yards on the ground for K State. I mean, K State was fighting to get bowl eligible in Utah, and Utah said, nope. We got dreams to keep alive. Albeit on life support, still alive. So, yeah, I mean, you really got to question whether you can keep Kleinman in. I mean, this was an absolute mess of a season. K-State, a lot of hopes of greatness, and you lose to Iowa State, lose to Army, lose to Arizona, Baylor. Well, everybody's losing to Texas Tech, and then you lose another heartbreaker against Utah. And I mean, for goodness sake, all these losses are outside of Texas Tech. Texas Tech is the outlier. They lose to Utah in Utah by 4. They lose to Baylor by 1. They lose to Arizona by 5, 6. They lose to Army by 3, which you shouldn't be losing to Army. Or K-State. And then you lose to Iowa State by 3. I mean, every loss you have outside of Texas Tech is 1 possession. I mean, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. What are you doing if you're K-State? Fire them or keep them? Let me know. Let me know, K-Staters. Let me know. And then, let's see if there's anything else worth talking about. BYU wins in Cincinnati. They were trying to hype this game up so much. They were trying. I applaud the attempt, but I mean this game is just This wasn't getting me any sort of excitement. Obviously, BYU is going to cover the 2.5. BYU is going to win this game. They tried to make this, they tried to hype this up so badly. And it just wasn't. Cincinnati now has dropped 3 straight, and they go to TCU next weekend. I'm not going to cover that game. I do not. Then BYU, their last game is against UCF. They win. They're going to the Big 12 title game. Play Texas Tech. And they all live happily ever after getting waxed by Texas Tech for the second time. So I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about here. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, because we're gonna be covering we're gonna be covering a lot of games next week. It's gonna be a busy week because it's rivalry week. Gonna be covering Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Not gonna cover Utah and Kansas because I don't care. Not gonna be covering Indiana, Purdue because we all know how that's gonna go. Texas A&M in Texas, we're gonna be talking about that. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Washington. Not doing the California schools. Miami and Pitt. Talk a little bit of Tennessee, Vandy. Obviously, Alabama, Auburn. I mean, that's a lot of games to be talking about. We're gonna be covering. Not even showing any of the Thursday games for some reason. Or, I guess there wouldn't be Thursday games. Never mind. Got Thanksgiving. But, yeah, we got a lot to talk about over the next week. And we might even cover Oklahoma LSU. Mainly talk about why Lane Kiffin is not. Which I kind of already explained that in the last video that I did. Full length video and the last short. But nonetheless, it was a weekend of college football. Left many to be desired, but a little bit of pain, and you will be rewarded with a tremendous weekend of college football this upcoming weekend. I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is the Dylan Hildreth Show. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you anything. Next one.